Hello and welcome to another edition of Mainly NBA. Today we're going to be breaking down the Derrick Rose trade, and I'm going to be predicting my Eastern Conference All-Stars. So before we get started, please leave a like and subscribe, and we'll get right into it. So just briefly, I'll talk about the Derrick Rose trade. I think once again it's one of those rare win-win situations where I think the Knicks, they kind of want to be competitive now. Obviously, he's a huge upgrade over Dennis Smith Jr., and they didn't give up a whole lot. Like, they obviously don't think DSJ is part of their plans in the future. So in a win now mode, not necessarily fully win now, but trying to be competitive and trying to be a playoff team, I think is a good move for the Knicks. On the other hand, Detroit, they're not going to be competitive for probably a couple of years, and they're getting basically taking a flyer on DSJ. And I believe they're getting a second round pick as well. So, you never know who that's going to turn out to be. And now into the Eastern Conference All-Star predictions. So first off, I think for starters, I think 4 out of the 5 are pretty much set in stone. I think Kyrie, KD, Embiid, and Giannis, I think those guys are going to be starters no matter what. So what that leaves is the second guard spot. Now I think there is really 4 guys that you can really probably consider for that spot. I think it's probably Trae Young, James Harden, Jaylen Brown, and Bradley Beal. And I honestly think it should be Bradley Beal. Like, out of all those guys, yeah, he's on the worst team. He's probably playing the worst defense. But I don't blame his team's success on him. And I've talked about before, you really can't blame him for the lack of success the Wizards are having. Like, he's averaging like 33 a game, like 5 assists. Like, he's trying his best, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And he's been dominant. Clearly, James Harden, probably the better player, but with James Harden, I think it's very rare. I don't know when the last time 3 All-Star starters have been from the same team, so that's why I kind of think that's a little bit unlikely to happen. Jaylen Brown, I think he's been great this year. I just think he hasn't quite reached that kind of like fandom and that kind of appreciation that Bradley Beal or James Harden have, although he is having team success. And you can argue with him, it's kind of going to be tough for him to be a starter because, I mean, there's the debate between him and Tatum, who is the better player. And lastly, we have Trae Young, who I think is the 4th best player out of all the players I've named, and that's why I don't think that he will be a starter. So now we have the reserves. I think pretty much everyone but the top spot, I think, is pretty much set, or obviously things could change, but who I predict, the only really kind of back and forth I had was really the last spot. So I think for forwards, of course, we get, I believe, 3 front court players, 2 wild cards, 2 guards. For my forwards, I'll name the first 4 that I think are probably for sure going to get in, which is Domantas Sabonis, Bam Adebayo, Jason Tatum, and Chris Middleton. And for my 2 guards, I do think Jaylen Brown and James Harden are not locks, but have a really good chance to make it. So that obviously is Trae Young out of the guard spot, and I just think that he hasn't been really the outstanding player that he looked last year. He hasn't played as well last year. I know his team's doing a lot better, but there's a lot of other guys on his team that are really contributing. His team got significantly better with the moves they made. He's not really putting up the numbers, and their team success isn't really overwhelming. Once again, with the All-Stars, it's so tough to debate whether or not you value team success or you value individual player success. And for Trae Young, I don't think his player success has outweighed his maybe team's lack of success. And this is talent. There's a lot of talent this year, and it was just hard for me to put him in. Now we go to the last spot, and I think it's going to be Tobias Harris, who is currently the 2nd leading scorer on the best team in the East. With Tobias, it was a tough decision between Ben Simmons, his teammate. Obviously, I wasn't going to put 3 different Sixers on this team, but it was between Ben Simmons, obviously Julius Randle. There's a lot of other really good players that aren't going to make the cut, but I do think Tobias is the most deserving, and he's finally a guy that's living up to his big contract. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. please, once again, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on Saturday.